What's up, Kevin? I believe you are my last review of the day. And first and foremost, uh, your topic intrigued me because I work with children. I love technology, and I'm also very passionate about the cause, effects, and results of it all meshing together. Mm, let's see. So it sounds like you're not in favor of the children and technology together. You are very aware that lots of kids have access to lots of devices and at a very early age. So there's very good awareness of the issue here, and what could potentially go wrong. Um, I will tell you right now, your first topic, the use of technology. Um, I see your first bullet point. Whew, almost on a daily basis, especially with where I work. Um, and I'll be honest with you, we have a service called Child Life in the hospital where I work for Children's Hospital, and even they are guilty of having the iPad or a television or a princess movie or something on to distract the child while getting like a shot done or something, flu shot or some procedure done, right? Um, and it always fascinates me. With my Christian background, it's always fascinated me because I almost look at the child when I help, I'm help holding the arm still or something, or help the nurse with the resources for the shots, and I always look at the child's eyes as they kind of drone out into a technological device, and they almost look completely absent. They're either not paying attention at all, and they're too concerned about the needle, and we're just getting it done, or they completely just check out. It's as if a soul isn't even in there anymore. It is a very fascinating kind of experience. It's just children learn very quickly, and when they do something, they devote all of their attention to it. And so you can tell when a child's learning something from one of these devices, whether it be good or bad, because they are just enamored with it. They're just gone. Um, let's see, positive negative effects. Many can argue help kids who become inventors. Um, I think technology, you know, I think technology can be good for. I don't think for very, very, very tiny kids. And I think this is one of those things that you have to just govern. You have to just govern correctly, and it is a delicate balance every single time with every single person, right? Once like I said in one of the other discussions, I think it was with Angela. She was talking about video games. Should they be used in education? In her PowerPoint, and I said, yes, I think that technology and computers and games should be used to help educate people. Obviously, the content of the game is very dependent, right? You're not going to teach them about math by trying to program the rate of turn inside of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, right? As they're gunning people down, especially at an early age. That would never be a thing. But, there's nothing wrong with a game that's got like a train that's trying to do some math, and it's like, well, here's a visual of how far and fast they move, and or here's some um, civil engineering technology, or here's how to do some grammar, Scrabble, some educational, obviously, and just with non-technological things, you have educational and non-educational. So once again, I think technology is a tool that we just see a lot of vice go into, a lot of fun, pleasurable things go into games, time consuming things, um, not so appropriate adult stuff. Um, hours and hours of content that does nothing for you as a growth of a person. But on the flip side, it's very educational. Like think of all the DIY YouTube YouTubes. I sound like a grandparent. YouTube videos. Think of all the educational video games. Think of all of the language teaching applications that are out there, like Rosetta Stone and all that, right? Um, so once again, I think everybody's saying technology and kids are bad, and that is because the content of what they are using is bad, and I think that the um, governing slash teaching and education of how to use it is bad. But so proposition talking with kids, and here you basically say it the way I grew up. I did not get a phone until I was in the seventh or eighth grade. That is still pretty early. It's probably about 12 when I got my first phone. I mean, I agree with you. I was there. I was probably also 12 when I got my first phone. I honestly don't think kids need it until they need it. Like don't give them a like if a child's not building a house, so you're not, or a tree house, you're not going to give them a hammer just so they can have the hammer. They can do damage because they have nothing else to do with it, or they don't know how to use it properly, or they just have it. So they just I have a hammer, so I'm going to use a hammer and do hammer things. And the argument could be said, well, if you give them the phone, aka the hammer, maybe they can create good things, do good things with it, just naturally build, right? Um, Naturally communicate in good ways, build good ties and stuff. And it's like, yes. Is that the majority of the case? I would say no. Just because they are in a state of learning, so you're banking very heavily on good influences immediately, and then immediately good intentions, which I'm sure they have. But then you're also relying on the fact that no influence turns them at any point. So um, I think this is still too young. I think if you really need it, a flip phone, something that basically just calls, emergency call phone. I would honestly say until they honestly go, yeah, I need to. Even then, just call somebody. Um, if I had a choice between a phone and a online message system like Facebook, or I mean, I don't think AIM's used anymore, but something of that sort, I would definitely choose a phone. So maybe a basic text phone. Make them go through the grueling keypad texting that we used to have to do. um, yeah, and right here, I don't think at 8 you don't need a phone at 8. At 8, you're still trying to figure out what toys you want from the toy store. You don't need that. That's crazy to me. That's crazy, crazy. Can technology be good for children? Right here, you definitely have some good points. Um, prepares them for future jobs. I agree with this completely. You need portfolios and all that stuff, and you know how to do some basic applications on computers and stuff like that, and phones and communication savviness for um, business use, right? Um, Career use. Smartwatches. I think out of all the things, this is probably one of the least damaging items. I mean, now they're getting to the point where they're basically a phone on your wrist, but back when they first came out and they were all about health and GPS and all that stuff, I think they were good. I think you should take out personally the texting aspect of it. Keep it simple and fun. The GPS tracking, not to be a creepy parent, but be like, hey, you're late by 2 hours. Where are you? Or hey, mom, I'm lost. Where am I? So you can be like ping them and be like, oh, you're there. Take a right, left, and then you're at your friend's house, right? Or, hey, my daughter went on a date and I haven't heard from her for 6 hours. And regardless whether she's fine or doing something inappropriate, you should be able to at least, but on the flip side, you should be, my person's not answering their phone. Now I'm scared. Now I need to know what's going on. But you should be instilling into your children, hey, when I text you, text me back. Just be like, I'm good, right? Know that you're not murdered. Um, Advancing education opportunities. This I think is huge. I think that kids need a mix of technological and traditional learning styles, tangible as well, and practical application. But this gets into the whole educational system as a whole, so we have touched that. I do think that kids should be given a digital um, cloud space at schools for all of their work assignments. I think that they should be allowed to have all of these items and submit them via that way. I think that'd be a very awesome idea as a tech, especially for the techie classes. Maybe not math. Math, do it old school. Get in there, write it down. Although new math is, ooh, lines and I don't get it. It's bad. Why would you change math? Um, Proposition for subtopic 2. Um, there are many ways for technology to help kids. It can help them in school homework, blah, blah, future careers. Bam, agree. Just straight up agree with you. Um, Many of the kids need to have things balanced. Bam, agree. You sound like a very level headed person here. So I am commending you with all these things. As long as parents is monitoring their children's time with screens, they will not become attached to their devices. Agreed. I mean, people are like, I've seen people get addicted to working out. I've seen people get addicted to substances. It doesn't matter what it is, organizing, workaholics, it doesn't matter. It's, I wouldn't say screening, it's moderation, right? With anything. So, again, technology is not the issue. Technology makes things faster. Technology makes things easier. It's just all of the bad things that we used to do before are just easier now. They're just easier. Easier for us to all do, get a hold of, touch, like it's just all the avenues that we were able to touch before. We can just do it faster now. It's bad. Um, Technology and kids, the good and the bad and the balance. What'd you say? So this is the flip side. This is what's wrong with it. Isolation. Agreed. I definitely, let's back that up. Bam. Um, I can't tell you how many times I've had to do a one-to-one, which is a 12-hour shift of sitting in a room with a child who has attempted suicide to watch them. So it's called one-to-one because it's them and you, and you're sitting there watching them, making sure they don't harm themselves and documenting every 15 minutes what's happening in the room, who's there, what's happening, and um, these kids aren't allowed their phone. They're not allowed any, and I will admit, more so than not, the parents are also on their phone. Um, I call them converted millennials because they are of a different generation that have slipped into the millennial mindset. And the child not being allowed to have their phone sits there and drones. Either we do allow the television because there's no internet access on it, but they will sit there and stare at you or stare at the screen. Nobody interacts with each other. You know, uh, Even if you attempt to, it's either usually most of the time, even now and then, every now and then, you'll get somebody that's like, "Yeah, I have issues with somebody just talk to me." Most of the time, they don't know how to interact because they're unplugged. Think of it as a computer that has been unplugged with its hard line and has no Wi-Fi capability. Still a perfectly functioning computer that can do all the things a computer can do. It just no longer can interact, doesn't know how to interact with other computers. It has no means to. It doesn't know. And what these children forget is that they can just speak to people around them and interact with people around them, and um, it isolates them. You see all the kids now; they're just looking down at their phone. I almost wish that at least there was a chip in their brain that just brought the visual displays up neurologically So at least they can fake it and look like they're looking at something interesting or doing something interesting, you know? Everybody now just looks down. Nobody looks up. Nobody's a nobody's a person anymore. It's weird. Too much screen time, agreed. You gotta have the moderation. Um, again, I think 2 hours a day in front of the screen is, obviously more likely to be obese, have regular sleep, blah blah. A real interesting study here with noticing your sleep is the sleep patterns of people who don't have their phones near them when they sleep and do because of the blue wave patterns from when the lights come on their phone. People who had their phones away were less disturbed from the light, even if you had it on silent or something. When you get a text, a blue light comes on. The light comes on, and your screen's a blue light, and it just naturally wakes you up because blue light is the light that is used to regulate your day and night cycles from sunlight. Is the blue spectrum. So, and sunlight is half blue, half red, um, creating an almost yellow white. You know, so it's just interesting study there. Graphic violence. I was talking and Angela's about this. She has a similar thing here, saying that desensitizes all that stuff, and I think this is true in young adults, and, because they're so impressionable and things are getting so lifelike now. But just like with good parenting, you can guide them correctly so that they can enjoy something and still not um, become socially unstable. So you're talking about balancing technology, and then your overview summary, which I'm thinking is your conclusion. Yeah. Um, you just need a balance. You need a balance. You need good parenting skills, and you need to be able to identify problems ahead of time. Um, and I don't want to say screen, but just like anything, you just when you teach a kid how to drive a car, you're not going to set them on the highway. You're going to ease them in first in the neighborhood, then maybe a main road, then maybe merging onto a boulevard. Then, all right, you feeling comfortable? Let's go onto the highway. All right, sweet, take your test. That kind of a deal. So, just that kind of a deal. I agree with you a lot on all this. It's a very wide topic. It's a very, um, and I apologize if I got your name wrong, Kelvin, in the first one, in the first say of it. But uh, I think you had a really good topic here, and it was a pleasure reading it. Have a good one.